Young and the Restless next week. Noah lashes out at Nick, explosive father-son showdown erupts. We've got spoilers for Noah and Nick, for Sienna, for Michael Baldwin, Christian Jules LeBlanc, and Lauren Fenmore Baldwin, Tracy Bregman. For Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, and Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, the Abbotts, the Newmans, and so much more. Young and the Restless next week. Lauren puts Michael on the spot. So let's start with Michael and Fenmore Baldwin. At the end of this week, Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, met up with Michael at Society, and Diane was appealing to Michael, saying he may be the only one who can help them with the big Victor Newman, Eric Braeden problem. Diane tells Michael he is a good person, and she does know he's loyal to Victor, but Diane is really hoping Michael will help them stop Victor because if they don't, Jabot is going to be destroyed. Michael admits he is totally sickened by what Victor did, but he just doesn't know how he can help. So Diane wants Michael to help them get the AI program away from Victor, so the Abbotts can destroy it. Michael tells Diane that he warned Victor several times not to use this thing. But Diane says they need proof that Victor has the AI software before he uses it again. In the end, Michael agreed to try and help however he can, but I don't think that he knows Diane would love to use that evidence to put Victor behind bars over and above destroying the AI. Phyllis's devious plan to win back Summer on YandR. Later, Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, told Diane that Billy is playing Let's Make a Deal with Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, trying to get her to steal the AI back. He's working on that. So Diane is actually hoping that either Michael or Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, will come through for them because she doesn't want to owe Phyllis anything. But the thing is, after the confrontation with Victor and Nikki, I don't think Nikki is going to be helpful at all. But surprisingly, the price that Phyllis asks from the Abbotts for stealing the AI back is not something for herself. She wants the Abbotts to sign Marchetti over to Summer Newman, Allison Lanier, lock, stock, and barrel. At a glance, that sounds like Phyllis is being selfless, but I don't think so. First of all, Red's always working an angle. Second, Daniel Romalotti is on to Phyllis. He knows that she is part of the reason that Jabot has been hit this hard. And Summer heard from Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, and from Daniel about what her mom's been doing. So, I think Phyllis wants to hand Summer the Marchetti brand all tied up in a bow for Christmas, so then Phyllis can act like she was doing a good thing when really this whole Victor AI Jabot disaster is all Phyllis's fault. Lauren and Michael's moral dilemma over Victor. Next week, Young and the Restless spoilers have Lauren and Michael talking about the mess. Lauren's asking Michael, okay, what's worse? An invasive AI program set to decimate the companies of their nearest and dearest friends, or a double-crossed Victor Newman? Because obviously Michael's telling her if he helps the Abbotts, Victor's going to find out, and the mustache will come unglued, and he'll be furious at Michael again when he just got back on Victor's good side. But I am sure that Lauren is going to tell Michael, you need to do the right thing. You need to help the Abbotts. You need to do what Diane asked and see if you can get the AI away from Victor, or at least get the proof on Victor that Diane asked for. Nikki and Victor's holiday showdown and reconciliation. Also this week, we had Nikki threaten to leave Victor if he didn't retract the hit piece on Jack and Jabot and publicly apologize. And as I predicted, Victor blew up. He was enraged that Nikki threatened to leave him over Jack after all their years together. Victor says he's not going to put up with threats from anybody, not even her. And when Nikki said she'd leave him and won't look back, Victor's like, get out. Go. But next week, Young and the Restless spoilers for Christmas Eve have Victor and Nikki back in a good place. So that means either Victor got Nikki to back off or called her bluff, or Victor has lost the AI by then and Nikki doesn't have to push the issue. Also, next week we've got Christmas action over at Billy and Sally's place. So Johnny Abbott, Paxton Mishkind, and Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, show up at Billy's house. Johnny has a little Christmas tree and says, I got it. And he's wishing Billy and Sally a Merry Christmas. It looks like Katie Abbott is there. Sally is smiling at Billy and his kids. She and Victoria are chill. It's all very nice. Noah's reckless actions lead to Sienna's kidnapping on Young and the Restless. Now let's talk about why Noah is so mad at his dad, Nick. By the end of this week, Noah and Sienna were hanging out at Sharon Newman's house, but she heads to the office and warns Noah and Sienna, don't leave. You're safe here. But Noah's stupid. So he says he's not afraid of Matt. And he decides to take Sienna out sightseeing around Genoa City, which is exactly what you should do when a fentanyl-dealing psycho is looking for you. So Noah and Sienna take off, and they initially have the Newman security team with them. But like the geniuses they are, Noah and Sienna decide to dodge their protective detail. So, first Noah is with Sienna at Crimson Lights, and then Noah takes Sienna to the Overlook Park. And if you remember, Dirty Cop Annie is in town with Matt, and he ordered her to get into the GCAC and get Sienna, take care of her. But it looks like Annie figured out Sienna isn't really there. Young and the Restless, Nick flips out as Detboro arrives. So Nick and Sharon are upset when they find the note that Noah left saying he and Sienna went out. Nick called Noah and warned Matt's in town, but Noah's cocky, saying he's not scared of Sienna's husband, but he really should be. He's just not a brain trust. As I predicted, Detective Burrow showed up in Genoa City this week. We'll have more of him next week. He's with the Newmans also searching for Matt and Dirty Detective Annie. So, as Noah and Sienna are admiring the view and kissing, of course, Annie gets the drop on them. She assaults Noah, clocks him in the head, and hauls Sienna off at gunpoint. Nick's accusations fuel Noah's fury on YandR. That leads into the Young and the Restless spoilers for next week, where Noah is at Crimson Lights with ice on his head, because he's an idiot. And Sharon tells Noah, Rory Gibson, that Matt can't just kidnap Sienna and sneak out of town because Matt doesn't have any resources. This is where Noah starts to get really ticked off because Nick suggests that Matt didn't kidnap Sienna, and she went with him willingly. And as we all know, Nick's favorite workout is jumping to dumb conclusions. He's pretty, but he's not real bright. And Nick's almost always wrong. That's just facts. That's his track record. And so Noah gets really mad and wants to know why Nick keeps assuming the worst of Sienna. Also, next week, Diane and Jack enjoy some Christmas romance and cuddle time at the Abbott Mansion. And don't forget, Christmas Day is a rerun of an episode from 2010. That's a YandR's take on A Christmas Carol with Victor getting the Ebenezer Scrooge treatment. Be sure to come back for our dated Daily Young and the Restless full weekly spoilers update. City is about to witness one of the most emotionally charged confrontations in recent Young and the Restless history. And this time, it's all about a long-simmering father-son fracture finally shattering beyond repair. Next week, Noah Newman reaches his breaking point and unleashes years of resentment at Nick, igniting a showdown that leaves both men shaken and permanently changed. Fans have watched Noah struggle quietly for months, trying to carve out his own identity while living under the enormous shadow of the Newman legacy. But the pressure, the disappointment, and the feeling of being perpetually second best finally become too much. And when Noah explodes, the fallout ripples through the entire Newman family. A son who's had enough. Noah's return to Genoa City was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to reconnect, rebuild, and prove that he belongs. Instead, he's felt dismissed, underestimated, and constantly compared to the Golden Newmans who came before him. While Nick insists he's only trying to protect his son, Noah sees it differently. To Noah, Nick doesn't trust him. Every suggestion feels like criticism. Every warning sounds like control. And every time Nick steps in to help, Noah feels pushed further into the background. Next week, all of that bottled-up anger finally erupts when Nick confronts Noah about a decision he's made. One Nick believes is reckless and destined to fail. What Nick expects is compliance. What he gets is fury. The showdown that changes everything. The argument begins quietly, deceptively calm. Nick tries to reason with his son, using the same tone he's used countless times before. Firm, confident, and certain he knows best. But Noah doesn't back down this time. Instead, he fires back. Noah accuses Nick of never truly believing in him, of only seeing his failures instead of his potential. He points out that no matter what he accomplishes, it's never enough. And then comes the line that hits Nick hardest. Noah says he's tired of living his life trying to earn approval that never comes. The confrontation quickly escalates from frustration to devastation. Voices rise. Emotions spill over. And Noah finally says what he's been holding inside for years. That Nick's constant interference has made him feel small, invisible, and incapable. He even questions whether Nick ever wanted him to succeed on his own, or if he just wanted another version of himself. Nick is stunned. Nick's defensiveness turns to guilt. At first, Nick reacts the only way he knows how, defensively. He insists everything he's done has been out of love. He reminds Noah of all the sacrifices he's made, all the times he's stepped in to clean up messes and protect him from heartbreak. But as Noah continues, something shifts. Nick realizes this isn't just about one argument or one bad decision. This is about years of unresolved pain. He begins to see that his desire to shield Noah may have actually trapped him, preventing his son from growing, failing, and learning on his own terms. Still, Nick isn't ready to fully accept the blame. The conversation reaches its most explosive moment when Noah declares he doesn't need Nick's approval anymore. And if Nick can't respect his choices, then maybe it's better they keep their distance. The silence that follows is devastating. Sharon caught in the crossfire. As if the situation weren't complicated enough, Sharon soon finds herself pulled into the aftermath. When she senses something is wrong, Noah opens up to her, and she's heartbroken by what she hears. Sharon has always been Noah's emotional anchor, and she understands his pain in a way Nick can't. But Sharon also knows Nick isn't the villain Noah believes him to be. She gently encourages Noah to consider that Nick's fear comes from love, not control. Yet even Sharon can't deny that Nick has a pattern of overpowering the people he cares about, especially when he's scared of losing them. Meanwhile, Nick confides in Sharon as well, admitting that Noah's words hit deeper than he expected. For the first time, Nick wonders if he's repeating the same mistakes his own father made with him. Victor Newman's shadow looms large. And speaking of fathers, Victor Newman's presence looms over the entire conflict. Though Victor isn't directly involved in the argument, his influence is undeniable. Nick has spent his entire life trying not to become his father, yet somehow, history keeps repeating itself. Control, power, protection at any cost. The irony isn't lost on Nick, and it terrifies him. Will Nick finally break the cycle? Or will he cling to his authority until it costs him his relationship with Noah forever? What happens next? By the end of the week, the damage is done. Noah makes it clear he's moving forward, with or without Nick's support. Whether that means a new business venture, a risky relationship, or even leaving Genoa City remains uncertain. But one thing is clear, Noah is done asking permission. Nick, meanwhile, is left reeling, forced to confront the painful reality that he may have pushed his son away instead of pulling him closer. This father-son rift isn't something that will be repaired overnight. Trust has been broken, boundaries have been crossed, and emotions are still raw. But in true Young and the Restless fashion, this storyline opens the door for powerful growth, or devastating consequences. A turning point for the Newmans. This explosive showdown marks a major turning point for both Noah and Nick. For Noah, it's the moment he finally steps out of his father's shadow. For Nick, it's a reckoning, a chance to either evolve or repeat the mistakes that haunted his own childhood. One thing is certain, the Newman family will never be the same after this confrontation. As secrets unravel, emotions collide, and generational wounds resurface, the Young and the Restless proves once again that no conflict cuts deeper than family, and no battle is more heartbreaking than a father and son fighting for control, understanding, Baldwin had always known how to read a room. Years in business, survival, and love had taught her when something was off, and tonight, something was very off with her husband. Michael Baldwin stood near the fireplace at the athletic club, nursing a drink he hadn't touched in 10 minutes, his jaw clenched like he was bracing for impact. Lauren watched him from across the room, her instincts screaming. Michael wasn't just distracted. He was hiding something. She crossed the room with purpose, heels clicking softly but decisively, the way she did when she was about to close a deal or confront a lie. "Are you planning to talk to me tonight?" Lauren asked calmly. "Or should I keep pretending everything is fine?" Michael startled, quickly masking it with a practiced smile. "Lauren, come on. It's been a long day." "That's not an answer," she said, folding her arms. "And you've been giving me a lot of those lately." The tension between them was thick, heavy with unspoken truths. Michael had defended criminals, tangled with the Newmans, and survived threats that would break lesser men. But nothing rattled him like Lauren Fenmore Baldwin when she knew. And she knew. They sat down, but the distance between them felt miles wide. "I heard something today," Lauren continued, her voice steady but sharp. "Something that makes me question where your loyalties really are." Michael's eyes flickered. "A tell." Lauren caught it instantly. "Lauren." "No," she cut in. "You don't get to deflect this time. I want to know why Victor Newman is suddenly very confident that you're going to handle a situation that could ruin lives." Michael sighed, rubbing his temples. "It's complicated." "Funny," Lauren replied coldly. "You always say that right before everything blows up." She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Are you protecting your client, or betraying your family?" The question hit Michael like a punch to the gut. For years, Lauren had stood by him through legal nightmares, moral gray areas, and dangerous alliances. She understood the law. She understood sacrifice. But what she wouldn't tolerate was being left in the dark, especially when their future might be collateral damage. Michael finally met her gaze. "Victor is pressuring me." Lauren scoffed. "Victor always pressures you. That's not new. What is new is you pulling away from me. Silence followed, broken only by the clink of glasses and distant chatter. Michael's mind raced. If he told her the truth, he risked dragging her into a war she never asked for. If he didn't, he might lose her anyway. Say it, Lauren urged. Say whatever it is you're so afraid to admit. Michael swallowed hard. I may have information that could change everything. Lauren's expression hardened. For who? For the Newmans. For Genoa City, he said carefully. And maybe for us. That was it. Lauren stood abruptly, eyes blazing. You don't get to gamble with our marriage like it's a legal strategy. Michael reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Every time Victor snaps his fingers, you jump, and I'm tired of pretending that doesn't come at a cost. She paced, emotions spilling over. I've watched you compromise pieces of yourself for years. But now I'm wondering if you'd compromise me too. Michael's voice cracked. Never. Then prove it, Lauren shot back. Tell me the truth. Right now. The ultimatum hung in the air. Michael hesitated just a second too long. Lauren laughed bitterly. There it is. That pause. That's how I know. She grabbed her purse, fighting tears. I won't compete with Victor Newman for my husband's loyalty. Lauren, please, Michael said, standing. I'm trying to protect you. No, she replied softly. You're trying to protect yourself. As she walked away, Michael felt the weight of his choices crashing down. For the first time, the legal mastermind realized he might have underestimated the fallout. Not from his enemies, but from the woman who had always been his anchor. And Lauren? She didn't look back. Because when a woman like Lauren Fenmore Baldwin puts you on the spot, she isn't bluffing. She's demanding the truth. And if Michael doesn't choose her soon, he may lose the one thing he's never been able to argue his way back into. Phyllis Summers stood alone in the dim glow of society after hours, fingers wrapped tightly around a half-finished glass of red wine. The city lights of Genoa City flickered through the windows like distant warning signs, but Phyllis ignored them. All she could see was her daughter's face, Summer's guarded expression, the wall she'd built brick by brick, fueled by disappointment, betrayal, and exhaustion. Summer had chosen distance. Worse, she'd chosen judgment. Phyllis had survived corporate wars, romantic disasters, and public humiliations. But nothing, not Diane Jenkins' smug smile, not Victor Newman's cold dismissals, hurt quite like losing Summer's trust. And Phyllis Summers did not lose. She strategized. Earlier that day, Summer's words replayed in her head, sharp and final. I love you, Mom, but I don't trust you. And until you stop manipulating everyone around you, including me, I need space. Space. The word tasted bitter. Phyllis took another sip of wine, her mind already spinning. Summer thought she was done with her games. That was the problem. Summer believed Phyllis couldn't change. So Phyllis would prove her wrong. Or at least make it look that way. The plan began with Diane Jenkins. Because everything in Genoa City somehow always did. Phyllis knew Summer had been drawn closer to Diane lately, bonding over Harrison, family stability, and the illusion of moral high ground. Diane had positioned herself as the reformed woman, the safe grandmother, the calm presence Phyllis could never be. And Phyllis hated her for it. But hatred alone wasn't enough. This time, Phyllis needed subtlety. She needed to become the victim. The next morning, Phyllis made her move. She showed up at Marchetti unannounced, dressed down, no dramatic entrance, no biting sarcasm. Just vulnerability. Summer barely looked up from her tablet. Mom, I'm busy. I know, Phyllis said softly. I won't stay. That got Summer's attention. Phyllis placed a thin folder on her daughter's desk. Inside were documents, real ones, showing Phyllis had quietly sold off a valuable investment, funneling the money into a trust fund for Harrison's future. No press release. No applause. I did it months ago, Phyllis said. I didn't tell you because I didn't want it to be about me. Summer frowned, suspicious. Why are you showing me now? Because you think I only act when there's something in it for me, Phyllis replied, her voice cracking just enough to sound real. And maybe you're right. But this time, the only thing I want is to stop being the mother you're embarrassed of. Summer said nothing, but the wall wavered. Phase 1 was working. What Summer didn't know was that Phyllis had tipped off Kyle the night before, carefully planting concern about Diane's growing influence over Harrison. Nothing overt. Just enough doubt to make Kyle start asking questions. Just enough tension to make Summer feel caught in the middle. Phyllis wasn't attacking Diane directly. She was letting Diane unravel herself. Days later, Phyllis staged her second act. She declined a public event. Phyllis Summers' declining attention was unheard of. Word traveled fast. Summer noticed. Then came the final, riskiest move. Phyllis invited Summer to Crimson Lights after closing. No speeches. No accusations. Just mother and daughter sitting across from each other, the hum of the espresso machine filling the silence. "I know you think everything I do is a trick," Phyllis said quietly. "So I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to watch me." Summer's eyes narrowed. "Watch you do what?" "Nothing," Phyllis replied. "I'm done interfering. Done fighting Diane. Done trying to control your life." That was the lie. The most dangerous one of all. Because even as Phyllis spoke, she had already arranged for evidence of Diane's past misdeeds. Real ones, buried ones, to surface through someone else. Someone untraceable. Someone who would make it impossible for Summer to ignore the truth when it finally exploded. Phyllis didn't plan to look like the hero. She planned to look like the only honest person left standing when the dust settled. Summer leaned back, studying her mother. "You expect me to believe that?" "No," Phyllis admitted. "I expect you to believe that I love you. That everything I've ever done, right or wrong, came from that place." For a moment, Summer's expression softened. Just a fraction. "I want my mom," Summer whispered. "Not the chaos." Phyllis swallowed hard. "Then let me prove I can be both less, and still be me." As Summer stood to leave, she hesitated. "We'll see," she said. It wasn't forgiveness. But it wasn't rejection either. Phyllis watched her go, pulse racing. She'd threaded the needle, for now. But in Genoa City, truth never stayed buried forever. And Phyllis knew when Diane finally fell, Summer would ask the hardest question of all. "Did you really change, or did you just win?" Phyllis lifted her glass once more, a knowing smile tugging at her lips. In her world, those two things were never mutually exclusive. Baldwin had learned long ago that silence could be louder than shouting. Tonight, it filled the penthouse like a living thing, thick, pressing, impossible to ignore. She stood near the window, arms crossed tightly, watching the lights of Genoa City shimmer below. Normally, the view grounded her. Tonight, it felt like a warning. Behind her, Michael Baldwin loosened his tie for the third time in 10 minutes. "You're wearing a groove in the carpet," Lauren said quietly. Michael stopped pacing. "I'm thinking." Lauren turned. "You've been thinking since Victor Newman walked into your office and turned your world upside down." Michael sighed, rubbing his forehead. "That's Victor. He doesn't just make requests, he detonates lives and walks away from the wreckage." "And yet," Lauren replied sharply, "you're considering helping him." The words hung between them, raw and undeniable. Earlier that day, Victor Newman had done what he did best. Offered Michael a deal wrapped in intimidation and obligation. He wanted Michael to bury evidence tied to a corporate crime that could destroy Newman Enterprises and send a key ally to prison. It wasn't the first time Victor had asked Michael to blur the lines. But this time it was different. This time it wasn't just illegal. It was devastating. "If that evidence disappears," Lauren said, stepping closer, "an innocent man takes the fall. You know that." Michael nodded. "I do." "Then how is this even a conversation?" Michael looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who had stood by him through mob threats, lawsuits, kidnappings, and moral compromises he still woke up regretting. Because Victor has leverage. Lauren's eyes narrowed. "What kind of leverage?" Michael hesitated too long. "Michael," she warned. "He's reopening old cases," Michael finally admitted. "Cases where I crossed lines. If he pushes hard enough, he could destroy my career. Maybe worse." Lauren felt the ground shift beneath her. Victor Newman wasn't just asking for loyalty. He was demanding submission. "So you're supposed to sacrifice your integrity," she said slowly, "to save yourself." "And us," Michael added. "Our life. Everything we've built." Lauren turned away again, gripping the back of a chair as anger flared hot and fast. "We didn't build this life by selling our souls to Victor Newman." Michael's voice softened. "Lauren, I became a lawyer because I believed in justice. But I've also lived long enough to know that justice doesn't always protect the people you love." She spun back around. "And what happens when you look at yourself in the mirror afterward? When Fenmore's clients ask me why my husband helped cover up a crime? When our son asks what kind of man his father is?" That hit. Michael flinched, his jaw tightening. "You think I haven't thought about that?" "Then think harder," Lauren said, tears brimming but unshed. "Because Victor Newman doesn't just take what you give him. He takes more. Every time." Michael sank into the sofa, the weight of decades of compromise settling on his shoulders. He'd defended mobsters, manipulated evidence, and danced on the edge of legality for powerful men who never paid the price. And somehow Victor always walked away clean. "I used to believe I could control him," Michael said quietly. that I was smart enough to outmaneuver him. Lauren joined him, sitting close but not touching. And now I realize Victor Newman doesn't get outmaneuvered. He waits. He collects favors like weapons. Lauren reached for Michael's hand, squeezing it. Then maybe this is where it stops. Michael looked up. You're asking me to risk everything. I'm asking you to choose who you are, she said. Not who Victor wants you to be. Silence returned, heavier than before. Later that night, Michael stood alone in his office, Victor's file open on his desk. One signature, one discreet phone call, and the problem would disappear. The temptation was undeniable, clean, efficient, ruthless. Victor's voice echoed in his head. You owe me, Michael. But so did another voice. Lauren's. Then maybe this is where it stops. Michael closed the file. The next morning, Lauren waited at Society, nerves fraying with every passing minute. When Michael finally arrived, his face told her everything before he even spoke. I said no, he said. Her breath caught. You did. I told Victor the first wouldn't do it. That I was done crossing lines for him. And Michael let out a humorless laugh. He smiled. That terrifying calm smile. Told me I'd regret it. Lauren stood and wrapped her arms around him without hesitation. You did the right thing. For now, Michael said. But Victor never loses. He just delays. Lauren pulled back, meeting his eyes with fierce certainty. Then we face whatever comes together. Michael nodded, emotion thick in his throat. I'm scared, Lauren. So am I, she admitted. But I'd rather be scared with my integrity intact than safe, because we destroyed someone else's life. Across town, Victor Newman stared out his own window, a slow, calculating smile forming. Michael Baldwin had chosen morality over loyalty. Victor never forgot that. And he never forgave it. But for Lauren and Michael, the line had finally been drawn, not just against Victor Newman, but against the versions of themselves they refused to become. Whatever came next, they would face it with open eyes.